Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to One Nation Under God, or ANN American News Network. You're seeing this on One Nation Under God. As you guys know, they hit my big channel, demonetized, took all the money I made in the last, 26 days. It's not the first time this has happened. It's not the last, but we're here for the truth above all else. We know what we talk about. We understand the risks with it. And today, we're going to keep speaking truth. So please share this video. Today, I have a special guest with us, James. You're retired, right? Already from the Marine Corps?
I did not do 20 years. Technically, to be retired, you have to be a 20-year veteran. I did just over 4 years in the Marine Corps, so I'm a Marine Corps veteran.
Okay. Yeah, and so James is also the CEO of Midas Gold Group. I talk about them often on how to be prepared for whenever something happens. And you guys know I often talk about the fall of the Soviet Union. Nobody thought it would happen. It was a powerful nation, you right? Next to the United States at the time, Europe depended on them. Africa, Asia depended on the Soviet Union, kind of like a lot of countries depend on the United States. And the Soviet Union was buying friends at that time, especially in the 80s, right? They were sending money all over the place to all these countries, trying to be friendly. They were getting involved in wars, kind of like we are today. And then one day, everything crumbled. Their financial system crumbled, their banks crumbled, their money went to nothing. Many people committed suicide, sadly. People went from having, some finances, be able to put food on the table, to losing everything within an 8-hour span. And so today, that's what we have James with us to talk about. Right now, Macron is saying that it's time to send in the NATO troops into Ukraine. James, how do you see that playing out?
That's a disaster. For one, being a military veteran, I love the Marine Corps. I love the service people. My sister is currently she's an officer in the Army, an EOD officer. But our military is not prepared to fight Russia. We have not been in a real war really since the 60s. We've been in Iraq, we've been in Afghanistan, but we were so technologically superior to those countries in our combat readiness that it really wasn't much of a fight. And fighting Russia, I know people that have been over there. What's interesting is I know people on both sides of that war. I know people that have been on the front lines in Ukraine, and I know people that have been on the front lines in Russia. And U.S. military that has been over there said it is nothing like Iraq. It's nothing like Afghanistan. When you go up against Russia, you're going up against probably a superior, a technologically superior fighting force, which I didn't even believe at first when I heard that. I mean, as Tucker Carlson said, we thought Russia was a gas station with nuclear weapons. But everything I've heard from people there, we are not prepared for Russia. We don't have the operational readiness anymore. We don't have the morale within the military. We have a military that's more worried about, gender inclusion and gay lesbian rights than they are about being operationally ready to go to war. And so I think it's a disaster. Not to mention the Europe and U.S. We don't have the money to pay for it. I mean, our economy grew over the last quarter roughly by about 350 billion. We took on 875 billion in debt over that same quarter. So it took us 875 billion in debt to grow the economy less than half that. So we don't have the financial resources, we don't have the military resources to even think about getting involved in that. You just have to think who's ever talking about that is probably the same people that planned the withdrawal out of Afghanistan. And it's absurd just to hear people say that.
Have you seen Putin's and Russia's response to the meeting Macron had with all the NATO leadership?
I've seen a statement from Putin. I didn't know if he put out a video. If he did, I haven't seen that.
So if you go to if you're on Telegram, there's a lot of like from the Russian side soldiers or just residents who are who are following. So they're interballistic nuclear like big carriers have been driving through all major cities, going all towards the border. There are border towns where they've never seen nuclear heads or intercontinental ballistic missiles. When they had that meeting, Vladimir, right, Putin, he responded with a statement. He said, if this is the way you want to go, you're not going to like it. Nobody's going to win. But he pretty much said, we're ready for the world to lose before we lose to the world. And so for the last 3 days, 2.5, 3 days, trains, those huge semi trucks that are designed to carry them, get stationed to shoot, they've been all moving towards, the western border to where I know there was even 2 videos that I saw that came out of Donbass, now that it's Russian territory. They're moving nuclear heads into there. Plus, we know what was it like 4 months ago in Belarus, they placed nuclear heads and they're on high alert. And Belarus never had nukes on their territory up until 6 months ago.
I mean, if you just study the history of Russia, Russia doesn't play to lose. They will you look at the way they defended St. Petersburg against the Nazis in World War II, one of the bloodiest, longest battles the world has ever seen. Russia in World War II lost millions of people in the war. They do not lose. They will throw everything after defending their territory. And it's just not even a type of combat situation that the U.S. has even thought about for over half a century.
So I have a question, this kind of question that I've been wanting to ask, and I try to ask people. So you know people in high places. You've been in Mar-a-Lago. You've met Trump. You know all the people that are close to him. Well, many of them, right? You're the one who got me connected with Sebastian Gorka. You know Kerry Lake. You know a lot of military people. Why is the United States train our people to hate Russia so much?
I mean, I wish I knew the full answer, because I've asked smart people this same question, and I really believe that it comes down to, since even before the fall of the Soviet Union, there was a plan to overthrow American dominance. It's been a plan that's been worked on, since at least the 80s. And it was to attack the country from within. It was never to fight a war. It was to destroy the spirit of nationalism, to destroy the spirit of independence, to make people reliant on the government, to destroy the middle class, to slowly wipe out wealth, wipe out manufacturing base. And in many ways, it's been very, very successful. Russia, on the other hand, has gone the exact opposite way. Russia has developed a renewed sense of nationalism. And Russia, after the fall of the Soviet Union, has returned to its Christian roots. Russia truly is a culture that is religious and that implements at the highest levels standards of morality for the country. So when you've got a nation, and not to mention, what we've seen with the sanctions, where everyone said Russia was going to crumble. We're going to impose these sanctions. Their economy is going to fall apart. Their currency is going to go to nothing. Just almost the exact opposite happened. Their currency got stronger. Their economy is strong. They built up their own manufacturing base. They don't. Of course, they have global strategic partners, but they are very self-sufficient as a country. which is something we absolutely are not on any level. And we were becoming at least energy sufficient, and that's probably the most important commodity to be self-sufficient on. We became energy sufficient and energy stable under Trump, and Biden came in, and that was one of his first acts was to make us again reliant on foreign energy. So it's almost like a weird inversion of what we saw in the Cold War, and I think what globalists see, what people that want a one world government, what they see in Russia is the exact opposite of what they want. They want countries capitulating. They want countries to have a global interest in mind, where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. They don't want this sense of nationalism, this sense of independence.
Yeah, it's and when you just talked about Trump, I want to break the news here. First, I was going to make a video on this. So my wife is Ukrainian. This is election fraud 101. And again, right, this channel could get hit like the other one for what I'm about to say, but we need to speak truth. My wife is Ukrainian. She just became a citizen 2 years ago. So because she came here, I came here as I was like 5, 6. She came here, she was 15. So she became a citizen 2 years ago, and some of her family members she has here that came here more recently, like after the war, and we're in Washington State. Everybody gets a ballot. During the primaries, her brother and sister-in-law received invitations to register to vote from the Secretary of State. My wife received a ballot 4 days ago. The whole family did. And yesterday, we got one more ballot for her. So 2 ballots. That's illegal. If she sends them both back, what's going to happen to her? Right? Isn't that like federal charges?
She's
But
committed a crime.
Last night I sat and I thought, why did I not get one? Why did my parents not get one? Why did she get one? It's the immigrants or the relatives of immigrants, because I guarantee you, if she fills them out for Biden, no one's going to touch her. They'll count both of them and let it go through the system. But she's the only one whose roots are in Ukraine. She recently became a citizen. So they're in their mind, they're like, she's one of those super pro-Ukrainians. And she's not. She agrees with me. Zelensky needs to be thrown over. This government is a puppet government. And right now, the world, frankly, can do pretty good without a Ukraine, sadly, but that's true. They won't be pissing off Russia, and they won't be robbing the West and the United States. So that's one thing. So, election fraud, is that they're trying to do it from my house. And number 2 is we need to watch Michigan in 2024. So Joe Biden got 81.1% of Michigan last night. That's 623,000 votes. There is over 101,000 uncommitted Democrats just in Michigan. We go to the Republican. Trump got only 68% of the Republican voters, right? Because we know a bunch of Democrats voted for Nikki Haley. But he got 68, and he has over 758,000. So that's over 120,000 more than Biden did, and he got 81%. Uncommitted is only 33,000. Nikki Haley got 26.6 at 296,000. So if a third of these Nikki Haley voters vote for Trump, right, and the rest vote for Biden, he wins in a landslide in Michigan.
Yeah.
Plus, there's over 100,000 uncommitted Democrat voters who are saying we might even vote for the Republican nominee when the election comes. And let's say 15% of them vote. That's over 15,000. There is no way looking at these numbers from last night in Michigan, there's no way Trump can lose Michigan. That is just something to remember. This video is going to stay on forever. Maybe later we can come back and compare the numbers to what we get later and what we got. But two things I learned in 2 days. There's no way Trump loses Michigan. It doesn't, no matter how you twist and play with it, can't. Two, they're sending Ukrainian. So I'm going to ask around, but I think there's going to be more Ukrainian citizens who are getting 2, 3 ballots. We'll see. Well, that was just something we were just talking about, what Trump did and what Biden did. And I was just like, this is time to mention it. Why not?
And that is an interesting question. And you probably know this much better than me. How many Ukrainians that are in the U.S. actually support Zelensky? And I know there's such a large political divide in that country between Eastern Ukraine and Western Ukraine. But I've been in conversations. I was down in Mexico, and I was talking to a whole group of Ukrainians, and I didn't really want to say anything because I assumed they were very, very maybe sympathetic to the Ukrainian cause. This was before I met more and more Ukrainians, and I just asked them. I said, "What do you think of Zelensky?" And they went off, and they started quoting Putin. They wanted to be Russian, all of them, and they were upset that they had family members, cousins, brothers that had been forced into the military. So that's interesting, and you probably know that how many actual Ukrainians that are in the U.S. actually support Zelensky, and I'll bet there's a significant number, but it's probably not everybody.
But where it was 2 years ago when the war first started, and then they've seen how much financial aid has gone missing, how he's buying all these houses, how all this food, clothing that's just for the citizens' help is going missing, or it's being resold by their government. They get it for free and then they sell it to their people. He had to cancel elections because he cannot win. Starting March 1st of 2024, Ukraine is officially a dictatorship, because that is when May 1st is when their inauguration day is supposed to happen. They are not going to have one. They're not going to, because he canceled elections. So every single political party that is not Zelensky's is illegal in Ukraine. Every journalist or news company, everybody's shut down. Only the state-run ones are still in power. Every political power is illegal. Elections have been canceled, so there will not be an inauguration. He's just going to continue. He's a dictator, and people see it. So this goes all back to Macron and NATO, and we're here to save democracy.
Yeah,
you can think about whatever.
Not to mention freedom of religion. You have entire denominations of the Catholic religion being outlawed. But Nikki Haley and Macron will lecture us on how we need to defend Ukraine because they support freedom.
Yeah. But then when Vivek asks her, which 3 regions of Ukraine do you want troops to die for, she has to put her head down and then tell MSNBC, he only did that because I'm a woman. That is like, how can you run for president? Is that going to be your excuse? Like, if you win, is that going to be your excuse for the next 4 to 8 years? I'm a woman. They're attacking me because I'm a woman.
Classic Democrat playbook.
Yeah. And we see Russia's, it might sound stupid and crazy that Macron is, they have that meeting, but Russia has actually called for the last year, have been saying there's going to be a meeting where they're going to sit down and talk about sending troops. And if you do that, it's going to be bad. Then they warned people more and more and more. And it happened the very next day. Russia is on high alert when it comes to their nuclear weapons. They're sending nukes, intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuke heads at the border ready to go. They're in high alert. They're in Belarus. So you're retired Marine Corps. you know a lot of people in high places, you understand the economy, the dangers of the selling. So you plus you sell, you're in the gold and silver business for, for a reason. Like we spoke before, you said this is something you believe in. Now, what do you think right now? What can people do to get ready? When it comes to their finances, gold and silver, right, or food, electricity. How can your average Joe be prepared just in case something does pop off?
Well, I mean, there's not one solution to it, but I mean, you have to look at the assumptions that underlie traditional financial planning. If you're like most people, you've been taught you need to save your money by putting it in a bank because that's safe. You need to work for a company and set up an IRA and then hand it off to a money manager so he can invest it in certain stock indexes and mutual funds and make it grow for you. Um, and that is all based if you're doing that, you are presuming that the US is going to be able to continue to primarily export dollars, because that's become our role in the world. Because we have the world reserve currency, we've had the luxury of not really having to make a whole lot of value. It's why people want to become. They don't really want to become agricultural moguls. They want to become a hedge fund manager and just sell, credit default swaps and things that are intrinsically worthless. Just like the currency that we export all over the world in exchange for goods and services is intrinsically worthless. We're just printing it. And if you think that that's a stable strategy, that we can export money, run up debt to grow the economy, and not only that, weaponize our currency when we're supposed to have a neutral world reserve currency, and we are weaponizing it, particularly against Russia, and the world's moving away from that currency. But once you realize that we are not bulletproof, there's going to be a day of reckoning, and I don't care who's president. I don't care if it's Trump, if it's Biden, if it's Gavin Newsom, whoever it is. We're going to have to address these issues. We can't pay back the debt, and we can't continue to rely on our currency to continue to gain value. So you have to think of some alternative strategies, and I really think you also need privacy within your savings. Don't trust it all to these bankers. I mean the banks are essentially now extensions of the government. They only survive because the government provides them with below market interest rates, with artificially low interest rates. If it weren't for the government, virtually every big bank would have failed long ago. So you can put your money in paper that's an extension of the US government, or you can transfer a portion of it and put in a private currency like gold. And of course, there are other more stable investments. There's land, of course, I think is a good investment, um, and a number of other commodities. Energy production, I think, is a good investment. But I really think most people need to have some privacy in there, and they need to be saving. If you're saving currency, don't save it in paper dollars. Save at least a portion of it in gold and silver, because that currency can't be inflated. It can't be imprinted to infinity. And make sure you have the physical gold and silver. A lot of people, I think one thing a lot of people do is they say, I want to own gold and silver. So they call up their financial advisor who works for State Street, or indirectly works for BlackRock, whatever it might be, and say, hey, I want to own gold and silver. And the financial advisor says, okay. They don't sell gold and silver, with very, very few exceptions. They don't have any avenue to do it because there's no recurring revenue model. If someone buys gold and silver, they put it away. It's done. Nobody's making money off somebody saving in gold and silver. So they say, okay, we'll buy you a gold fund. Maybe there are some gold mining stocks in there. Maybe there are some ETFs. And you end up just owning more paper. You own gold appreciation rights. You own rights to some mining stock, but you don't have anything private and set aside. So, you really need to find just a reputable over-the-counter dealer that if you say, hey, I want $100,000 worth of gold or 10,000, a million, whatever it is, that they can show you how to own that in the form of bullion, bars, or coins. Generally, something simple. Stay away from collectibles for the most part, unless it's just a passion and you're a collector. But someone that will show you just how to own that in gold and silver bullion.
All right. And I know just the guy, Midas Gold Group. They do that. Now,
We've
no,
been doing it for 2 generations, so we understand it very well.
yeah, your father started Midas, right?
My father did not start Midas, but he worked in the business since the 70s.
Oh, so and
So,
then okay.
so I grew up, with my dad being in the precious metals business. I always grew up a little bit red pilled. You
Yeah.
know, he understood many of these things people are waking up to now. Back when I was a kid, he says I had gold and silver, and I went to the Marine Corps. I got out of the Marine Corps, went to college, worked for a big prestigious accounting firm, and then I was going to go work for an investment bank. And 2008 came along, and all the investment banks crashed. And so I said, hey, I'll go work for my dad. And he taught me the business for many years, and gave me the knowledge and skills to go and eventually start my own business.
No,
Um,
that's
and
awesome.
and grow it in Arizona, in California, and throughout the United States.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in protecting your money and with gold and silver, physical gold and silver, Midas Gold Group, you can go to midasgoldgroup.com or links down below in the description to this video. I'll throw all that out at the end with their phone number. Mention Vlad, they'll hook you up. Now, last question. How do you think the election's going to go? How do you think it's all going to play out?
I mean, at the end of the day, I still maintain I have no idea. I think I think when you look at everything they are throwing at Trump, he is the antithesis of everywhere they want the United States to go. He's not a warmonger. He's not a neocon. He truly is America first, and it truly appears from everything he's been through that he can't be bought, he can't be threatened, and that's amazing. That's a patriot. I mean, I mean Donald Trump. I'd put him near the level of Benjamin Franklin, that went from a wealthy aristocrat that could travel back and forth from London to the U.S., be invited to all the greatest social parties, and suddenly he signs the Declaration, and he's marked for death.
Yeah.
And I would put Trump almost there with those patriots. What he has given up, what he has gone through, the fact that he will not surrender. I mean, it's amazing. And I think people recognize that. I think people in large part will vote for Trump, that they want Trump, and I think that there's not too much. They're running to the end of their rope legally on things they can do to stop him through the court system. But I also think that the forces that are going to fight Trump are extremely sophisticated. I mean, these are forces that have been running things for decades, if not centuries. And so I'm scared of the tactics that might be used. So I think there's going to be nothing normal about this election cycle, and I have hope, and I have faith that that we're going to have a victory, and Trump's going to win, but I don't think it's going to be without a fight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like where I stand, I think. But people like never before, if you look nationwide, like never before are people who have been red pilled, or they're awake to kind of like my family. These people who just got here, this was in the midterms 4 months ago, no social security number, nothing. They're here on a 24-month stay until the war is over, or 24 months is done, whichever comes first. They're getting, from the Secretary of State to vote in the primaries. Now my wife is getting 2 ballots. It's, but now more people see it, and people are actually volunteering. People are getting involved, right? So like on a local precinct level, and that's how we change. That's how we change the things. Because even like 10 years ago, most people just voted and that's it. How does it happen? How does it operate? I don't know. Now people are vigilant. People are looking. So,
and I think really at the front lines of that, Vlad, is guys like you, because I think what they didn't count on, they thought we control the media. We control. They control Fox News, CNN. Or there's controlled opposition in there, I believe. But they didn't count on people waking up and seeing it and going to alternative sources, going to guys like you and people going hearing different opinions and coming to their own conclusion without being spoon fed
yeah,
what the actual narrative is by the major media organizations.
yeah.
General media, conservative and liberal media in the mainstream, they have certain things you can disagree on, and certain things you either don't mention or you're on the same page on. If you try and say, well, maybe Zelensky is not such a good guy, maybe we shouldn't be spending money here. You can't say that in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
But people are coming to sources like this, and they're finding it. So you guys, it's why we at Midas, why we want to support independent journalists, and guys like you, because you are the front line of the fight. It's very much an information war, and you're the one getting information out there to people.
And I think we're gonna win. And I really agree with like Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan. 10 more years and the whole Fox, CNN, MSNBC, that's done. New York Times, it's done. Look at their views. There are months where on my main channel I was getting more views on some nights than CNN would. Like they're and you understand why. People, like, what is it, like over 80% of the country say they don't trust the media. So yeah. Well, James, thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, Midas Gold Group, go check them out. Links down below in the description. Hit that subscribe button. God bless. Thank you, James.
God bless, Vlad. Thank you.
And